Shout out to Ring RQ, Julius, you legend. We're going to do a joint interview, yeah? Yeah, we'll do a joint interview, Julius. Thanks for the support. You're a legend. From your girls, Raven and Ellie.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A continuation to a story I talked about in my previous upload. Demetrius Andrade making the decision to vacate his WBO middleweight title in pursuit of a WBO interim title at a higher weight, super middleweight, which would pit him against Frank Warren's own Zach Parker, his unbeaten up-and-comer against the unbeaten 2-division champion who aspires to one day become a 3-division champion. And how a lot of people, they are interpreting this move as a duck. They feel that Demetrius Andrade making this decision is an effort, an attempt to circumvent certain danger in Janibek Alimkhanuly. And I said it before, I'll say it here again. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I'm not sure that I can call this an according to Hoyle duck, because the basic idea behind a duck is you're skipping out on a hard fight that you might lose for an easier fight. You're skipping out on a hard fight for an easy fight. And I don't get the sense that Zach Parker is going to be easy. I don't get the sense that's going to be any...
Where Demetrius Andrade might have stood a chance of losing to Janibek Alimkhanuly, he stands a chance of losing the Zach Parker fight, too.
At least that's the look of it from where I'm sitting. Both Zach Parker and Janibek Alimkhanuly are both unbeaten up-and-comers, unbeaten guys that don't yet know how to lose. They're both spiteful guys, spiteful punchers. Both guys hit hard. It's just that one of them campaigns at a higher weight. And if I'm being honest, there's more in it for Demetrius Andrade in a Zach Parker fight than a Janibek Alimkhanuly fight. And that's likely why he decided to go in this direction. You must understand, nobody, aside from Janibek, is in any hurry to challenge Demetrius for his full-fledged WBO title at middleweight. He can't seem to land a big fight, and good fight that the Janibek fight might have been, that's not a big fight. I've said that before. It's a solid fight, it's a good fight, but it's a fight that only the hardcore boxing fan, only the degenerate boxing fan is aware of. And the same can be said for Zach Parker. He ain't got much more of a profile than Janibek does, but the difference is, at least at 168, Demetrius Andrade won't have to keep cutting down to middleweight, cutting that extra 8 pounds. Demetrius Andrade, he is 34 years old. I don't imagine making the middleweight limit has gotten easier over time. I imagine it's gotten harder because he's a tall, long, and rangy fighter. So for Demetrius, he might want to...
I admit, this is bad optics.
Bad optics that Demetrius Andrade doesn't have any signature fights yet, in spite of being a 2-division unbeaten champion. It's bad optics that he's 34 years old, doesn't have a signature fight. Bad optics that while he was under orders to satisfy his mandatory challenger, Janibek Alimkhanuly, he uploaded a video to his social media whilst inebriated, calling out Chris Eubank Jr. of all people.
Bad optics.
You knew you were under orders by way of the WBO to fight Janibek Alimkhanuly. You knew that. So did everybody else. And there you were, drunk out of your mind on your driveway, calling out some other guy, calling out somebody else. It's bad optics because it shows you didn't want that Janibek Alimkhanuly fight. And in many ways, that's what this shows, this Zach Parker fight. Difference here, however, is Zach Parker is no slouch. I can't wholeheartedly say that...
Like I said, the basic idea of a duck is you're skipping out on a hard fight for an easy fight.
I've seen this Zach Parker kid in action. I've seen him fight, and I gotta tell you, I don't get the sense it's going to be easy. You know, one of Demetrius Andrade's standout qualities is his mobility and his athleticism, that he's somewhat awkward, but he's agile. And Zach Parker, he's a body puncher. You know, one surefire way to get a moving target to stop moving is to go to the body. Zach Parker goes there.
That'll slow him down.
You're talking about a 34-year-old Demetrius Andrade, a guy in his mid-30s moving up to a weight class and carrying extra weight into the fight that might so hamper his mobility and his range of motion. I mean, I just don't get the sense that this is as easy a situation as some are making it out to be, to whereas fighting Zach Parker equates to ducking Janibek Alimkhanuly. Those are both unbeaten guys that are hard punchers at their respective weights. It's just that one campaigns at a higher weight than the other, and he actually has more professional fights, more professional experience.
So while a lot of people are in a hurry to accuse Demetrius of ducking Janibek,
the active ingredient in a duck is avoiding a hard fight for an easier fight. And I'm not sure that this fight is any easier than the Janibek Alimkhanuly fight would have been, though I do think there is some angling involved, and it's obvious. Nobody wanted to challenge Demetrius for his WBO title, nobody except Janibek Alimkhanuly, and Demetrius has probably outgrown the middleweight division. It can't have gotten easier to make that weight over time, not while he's in his mid-30s. Whereas if he moves up to super middleweight, fights Zach Parker, and potentially beats him, he's in line for a Canelo fight. And if he can't get a Canelo fight, he will at least get a full-fledged world title out of it that will make him a 3-division champion. So my diagnosis, how it looks to me, it's not an according to Hoyle Duck. I'm sorry, but from where I'm sitting, it's just not one of those.
Not when you look a little deeper.
In men's light heavyweight news, Beterbiev trainer insists his injury is minor, would be able to return to ring in November or December.
Well, is he actually returning to the ring in November or December?
Artur Beterbiev won't be laid up for too long, it appears, even if it means his next fight will be postponed into the new year. In a recent BoxingScene.com report, it was noted that the Montreal-based Russian native and unified light heavyweight champion would not be fighting mandatory challenger Anthony Yarde of England in October at the O2 Arena in London, as originally planned because of a previously undisclosed injury. That fight now may not take place until early 2023. Beterbiev had a previous fight against Adam Dionise in 2020 postponed because of a rib injury, but it does not appear that his latest wound will keep him out of the ring for too long. Mark Ramsey, the trainer of Artur Beterbiev, indicated recently that the injury itself is not serious.
Not serious in the life or death survival sense of the word, but serious enough that you ain't fighting until next year.
And for a fighter who's in his late 30s, time is a luxury you ain't got. It wasn't even arthroscopic surgery. It was just to clean out the interior of his knee, Ramsey told Le Journal de Montreal last week. Some of the tissue had deteriorated over time. It was a really minor thing. After the operation, he took 2 weeks off, and he has already returned to training. Ramsey told Le Journal that he is waiting on a new date from Top Rank, the Las Vegas-based company that promotes Beterbiev. Ramsey pushed back against the idea that Beterbiev would not be able to fight until next year. Ramsey is hopeful that Beterbiev can fight Yarde, his WBO mandatory challenger, in November or December. Yarde is promoted by Wank Frauen of Queensbury Promotions.
It would be nice if they can get Artur out there before this year is out.
Artur has already returned to the gym, Ramsey said. I saw what had been written in the American media. They seem to have exaggerated a bit. He can easily fight in November or December. Reading all that, they make it seem like this is a Carey Price situation, Ramsey joked, referring to the potentially season-ending knee surgery to goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens hockey team. Ramsey pointed out that the surgery was successful and that Beterbiev did not experience any pain. Ramsey says he is pleased with Beterbiev's current progress.
Americans over-exaggerating the severity of the injury, severity of the surgery.
And Canadiens downplaying it. If Artur doesn't get back out there at least one more time before this year is out, it really doesn't matter because the implications of it all will be the same. And it's the implications, after all, that need reconciliation. Artur is a fighter who does not have the luxury of time.
You know that they were relying on Anthony Yarde's fans to foot the bill for this thing. You know that, right?
That's the way it all breaks down. That's how it works. They had Artur Beterbiev take on Joe Smith Jr. on the East Coast within proximity of Joe Smith Jr.'s fans who drove up from Long Island.
Because they were relying on Joe Smith Jr. to sell the tickets. And with this fight, with Anthony's fight, they're relying on Anthony to sell the tickets.
I think Artur Beterbiev's great. I think he's a fun fighter to watch. I think he's excellent fighter. That's what I think. An excellent fighter, an excellent champion. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that he's a marquee fighter. I'd be lying to you if I told you that he's a ticket seller. He's not a ticket seller. And that's why they were going to fly him out. Fly him across the Atlantic Ocean, over there to the United Kingdom, to Anthony's neck of the woods, because they were relying on Anthony to sell the tickets. And if they want to reschedule this thing...
A Russian import and a British import don't move tickets in New York City.
I mean, they could try for the Hulu Theater, 5,000-seater. They could try for it later on this year, but like I said, neither Anthony Yarde or Artur Beterbiev have a big following in New York City. They don't.
Maybe they could do it in Artur's neck of the woods. Maybe they could do it north of the border in Canada.
Let Yvonne Michelle handle promoting the fight up there in Canada, up there in Montreal or someplace up there, and we can see the fight here in America by way of ESPN Plus, the way we saw the Marcus Brown fight.
Or try for London again, see if something doesn't open up.
I mean, they're saying it's stadium fight. You don't need a big venue, big location with a whole lot of people for Artur Beterbiev versus Anthony Yarde. It's a good fight, but it's not a mouth-watering fight. Most people agree, even the Brits. Anthony Yarde He stands a good chance of getting his clock clean.
You don't think they could do this thing at York Hall in November or December?
I don't know. But the basic idea here is seeing if they can't get this fight over the line before this year is out, because according to Mark Ramsey, Artur can fight. He can be ready by November or December. So it's just a question of finding the right location.
It's a question of availability and what's going to be available in November or December.
That's what Frank's got to do. He's got to find a place in either November or December where they can do this fight, so it's not a complete waste of a year for Artur Beterbiev and Anthony Yard, who hasn't fought at all this year.
Artur's at least fought once. Anthony hasn't fought at all.
Okay, can I ask, has there been any approaches from the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Prince Khalid about staging Fury v Usyk?
No. Okay. If a country wants to, or somebody wants to host this event, then they're going to have to dig deep. We can't get the fight on over here until next spring at the earliest, because if it were going to go on over here, it'd have to be at Wembley. And we want to get it away before the end of the year. So to get it way beyond the year, there has been interest from various places, and we'll go where the money is.
Okay. I know you said you were having talks before the fight. Have you spoke to either Alex Krashuk or Igis Klimas since the fight?
No, but my son has spoken to Alex, and I know Bob's spoken to Igis.
We know Alexander Usyk wants to fight. I know Tyson Fury will come out after the fight on Saturday and said he'll come out of retirement and he wants to fight Usyk. Are you confident this fight gets made?
I'm confident. The fight's made. You know, both parties want it, so there's no big problem in this getting this fight made. It's where it takes place and how we satisfy the boxer's financial demands. That's really it.
Yeah, but you see what Tyson Fury's saying. You see what kind of dollar amounts he wants, and even if he's just joshing a bit, even if he's just exaggerating just a bit, he does want a lot of money for the fight, and it sounds a lot like it's going to take a lot of money to get Tyson Fury in the ring with Alexander Usyk, per Tyson Fury's own social media, what he posted.
What he posted to his Instagram stories.
The biggest fight has to be for the world's biggest money. If I'm to put it all on the line against some unknown foreigner...
Why is he calling him an unknown foreigner? He just fought Anthony Joshua this past weekend.
The Ukrainians know him. The Americans know him. The Brits know him.
He's not some fucking unknown foreigner. People know who Alexander Usyk is, and so do you.
You know what Tyson Fury's saying? It says, boys better get that $500 million. If not, keep the little mug. If it was AJ, would have been in for free, but it's not. Only power in the waters, Gypsy King.
Isn't this the guy who runs around telling people it's not about money? He doesn't care about money?
He needs $500 million to fight a guy once that Anthony Joshua fought twice? What, you scared of something? What are you afraid of?
Why does he keep beating the drum about money to take on what he described was a middleweight, a blown-up middleweight?
That's what Tyson Fury called him. That's what Tyson Fury said. You need $500 million to take on a blown-up middleweight? We all know that Tyson Fury's joshing. He can't honestly expect anyone to give him $500 million for an Alexander Usyk fight, but he does seem adamant that he wants a lot of money. And believe it or not, that could be an issue. That could be a problem. I don't want to make any bold proclamations just yet.
I want to give Frank Warren and Bob Arum enough time that they can sort this all out.
But in case you missed it, let me remind you of what Frank Warren said.
Okay, can I ask, has there been any approaches from the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Prince Khalid about staging Fury v Usyk?
No.
The people in Saudi Arabia, Prince Khalid, they're the ones who bankrolled this past weekend's fight, you understand. They're the ones that made it possible for Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk to make the kind of money that they made. And if they're not involved...
And Frank Warren said that they're not.
At least not right now, although that could change in the future.
According to Frank, at least right now, they're not involved, and somebody's got to pay for all of this.
Alexander Usyk just made an estimated $75 million boxing Anthony Joshua for the second time.
And the Saudis made that possible. The Saudis buying the rights to the fight is what made that payday possible.
They bought the rights to the fight and then auctioned him off to the highest bidder so they can make their money back. In the United Kingdom, Sky Sports bought the rights to the fight. In 190 other territories, DAZN had the rights to the fight. They got them.
But it was the Saudis buying the rights to the fight off of Matchroom that made those paydays possible. It didn't happen on its own.
The money to do the fight, it didn't come out of Matchroom's budget or Sky Sports's or DAZN. It came from the Saudis who bought the rights to the fight from Matchroom and then sold them.
And if they haven't bought the rights to Fury versus Usyk, and they don't intend to,
Not saying that they don't intend to, but if they don't, the money has to come from somewhere. And I gotta tell you, even here in America, even in Las Vegas, Nevada, that is not a $100 million fight. Do you know how many pay-per-views that thing would have to sell here in America in order to generate well over $100 million? It would have to sell upwards of 1 million pay-per-view buys, approximately 1.2 million to be exact. And that fight don't sell 1.2 million pay-per-view buys in America. Maybe in the United Kingdom, but in the United Kingdom, the price point...
in the UK, the price point for a pay-per-view is 4 times less than what it is in the States.
In the United Kingdom, at a price point of approximately $25 American, 19 pounds in the UK, you'd have to sell approximately 4 million.
You listening?
You'd have to sell 4 million pay-per-views to generate 100 million.
It's not a $100 million fight in America. It's not a $100 million fight in the UK.
To get at that kind of dough, you're going to need some heavy backing. You're going to need Saudi money, that kind of money, that kind of an investment for it to be a $100 million pot.
Because the fight by itself is a big fight, but it's not a $100 million fight.
I hate to break the news to you, but it's not. And Tyson Fury doesn't have Anthony Joshua's fan base or his drawing power, his endorsements, his international appeal. He doesn't have it.
Doesn't have Anthony Joshua's endorsement deals or sponsorships. Not running around with a suspected cartel king.
Does the name of Daniel Kinahan ring a bell? See, this is the situation. The fight is an appealing fight. It's an attractive fight. And it's a big fight. But given the financial demands of the fighters, Team Usyk and Team Fury, Team Usyk is likely going to want something comparable to what they just made. And Fury...
Well, you see what Tyson Fury's saying. Tyson Fury made an estimated $30 million from the Dillian White fight.
You see what he's posting to his social media. You get the sense that he's going to want more than that. He's going to want more than just $30 million to get in the ring with Alexander Usyk. So how do you make that kind of payday possible?
A Ukrainian versus a Brit, 2 imports in America, that won't get you a $100 million fight.
I don't want to make bold proclamations, but I think it would be difficult to generate that amount of money to satisfy the financial demands of the fighters if you tried to do the fight here in America, and even if you tried to do the fight over there in the United Kingdom. Tyson Fury, he wants a lot of money.
Frank says they're going to do the fight wherever it generates the most money, whoever offers the most.
But he also said that the Saudis, who bankrolled this past weekend's fight, and those places, those paydays, he also said they haven't offered him anything yet.
I mean, I don't know. That could change. Maybe they will. But if they don't...
It's going to be difficult to get at the dollar amounts they put up in order to bankroll this past weekend's fight, because there ain't that many people out there with that much scratch, that much cash.
Hopefully Frank and Bob can figure it out.